In April of 1995, a manga called Trigun began serialization in Monthly Shonen Captain. It was a series that mixed Western and sci-fi to tell the story of a pacifistic gunslinger named Vash the Stampede. He's insanely talented with a gun, but only uses the weapon to save lives and not end any. Trigun received an anime adaptation made by Studio Madhouse in 1998. The English dub of this anime would be the first ever voice acting role of the now legendary Johnny Young Bosch, who voiced Vash. Trigun is a well-known and iconic series, with the anime boasting a score of 8.22 on my anime list. The original anime got a movie, and most recently, in 2023, another adaptation would be released, a 3D animated show by Studio Orange called Trigun Stampede. All this to say, the author Yasuhiro Naito hit it out of the ballpark, but eventually in 2007, the Trigun manga would officially come to an end, and thus people wondered if and when Naito would return to the manga world with a brand new series. We would get our answer in 2009, when Naito would begin a manga series in the pages of Shueisha's Jump Square magazine. That series was a mostly episodic story that features elements of slice of life, sci-fi, and urban fantasy, a series by the name of Blood Blockade Battlefront, or as it's better known in Japan and in the wider internet sphere, Kekkai Sensen. Kekkai Sensen was adapted into an anime in 2015 by Studio Bones. It was a year later that a certain boy truly started getting into anime. That boy was me. I was 13 years old at the time, scrolling through YouTube when I happened to come across Glass Reflections' first impressions video of Kekkai Sensen. Just from that video, I became hooked on the show. The clips I saw in Glass Reflections video had such a cool art style, and the premise sounded really intriguing. I set out to watch the series through means that, involved sailing the high seas, if you catch my drift. And since watching it, it has risen as my third favorite anime of all time, right behind Gintama and Mob Psycho 100. This was the show a lot of people in the anime community were talking about in 2015, but since then it has faded a bit into obscurity. Now most anime do eventually lose the spotlight for the next hit new thing, that much is obvious. Besides that, while anime was certainly becoming popular in the mid-2010s, it wasn't until 2019 with the release of Demon Slayer that anime hit a whole new boom in terms of people around the world watching this sort of content. Because of that, Kekkai Sensen is currently a series most newer anime fans either haven't heard of or have run away on their huge backlog of anime they plan to watch. Most people, when they hear the title, will think of the iconic ending song and the millions of animations made from it, and not anything from the show itself. I've been getting back into Kekkai Sensen again recently, and because of that, I want to make this video as a love letter to one of my favorite anime. Hopefully I can encourage you to rewatch the show or watch it for the first time if you haven't already. Before anything else, I should give you the basic premise of this show. On New Year's Day, a gate to a whole other dimension called the Ultra World suddenly opened up in the middle of New York City, causing a cataclysmic event that destroyed the metropolis in that one night. People from both sides of the gate gathered to set up a barrier around the city and prevent the disaster from spreading to the rest of the world. On that very same night, New York was rebuilt as a home for both humans and creatures from the Ultra World, a city now known as Hell Salem's Lot. The series takes place 3 years after the Great Collapse occurred. At this point, beings from the Ultra World of all shapes and sizes have become just as normal in Hell Salem's Lot as the human population. Our main character is Leonardo Watch, an aspiring photojournalist who is new to Hell Salem's Lot. Through a series of events, Leo ends up becoming the newest member of Libra, a top-secret vigilante organization that works to maintain peace in the city. Why does Libra recruit Leo? Well, despite how normal he may seem, there is something special about him. He possesses the all-seeing eyes of the gods. We find out that when taking a brief trip to Hell Salem's Lot, Leo and his sister Michaela suddenly found themselves in the presence of this giant mysterious being. They offered the eyes for only one of the siblings, with the catch that the other sibling would lose their eyesight. Michaela sacrificed her vision to give Leo the all-seeing eyes, and so he came back to Hell Salem's Lot in the hopes to restore his sister's eyesight. As I alluded to earlier, this isn't structured like a typical arc-based shonen series. It very much employs an episodic monster of the week type of storytelling. While there are some recurring antagonists, a majority of Kekkai Sensen are self-contained stories that feature the members of Libra getting caught up in a new issue or just living their lives inside this insane sandbox of a city. The series is first and foremost set on exploring this bizarro New York and the wacky goings-on of its populace. There are times where the manga is willing to break its usual status quo and do multi-part stories. I can't get into any of those multi-parters due to spoilers, but rest assured they bring with them some of the coolest moments in the series. Speaking of cool, let's touch on the fight scenes of Kekkai Sensen. First off, the way the kanji for the attack names appear on screen with booming sound effects. peak. Second of all, the animation of the fights is really good. A majority of Libra members possess powers that involve usage of their blood. However, each character's set of blood techniques are highly different. You have someone like Zap, who creates swords and webs out of his blood, which he can set on fire, or Steven, who can decrease the temperature of his blood to form ice. And that isn't to mention the Libra members who don't have blood-related abilities. From the description of the powers alone, you can probably already tell how chaotically fun the action in this show is. And thanks to that creativity and powers, the animators had fun putting them in motion. Since this is a Studio Bone show, the fight scenes benefit greatly from the masterful use of impact frames and Sakuga. One significant key animator for this series was Yutaka Nakamura, an animator who has had a hand in crafting the most fluid and visually exciting sequences in anime history. Animation in general for this anime is great across both seasons. It looked amazing back in 2015, and it's aged like fine wine in the years since. As for the specific style of Kekkai Sensen, for as many common anime tropes he likes to use, Yasuhiro Naitao undoubtedly takes a lot of American influence as well. You can tell with the outfits in the main cast and the series' sense of humor. He has a deep love for comic books, with several characters and designs inspired by comic book characters. I haven't read the Hellboy comics, but looking at the art style of that series and the idea of the BPRD, I do feel like Mike Mignola's creation was a huge inspiration for Naitao. If you're a comic book fan and want to get into anime or manga, I'd say Kekkai Sensen is a good place to start. The multi-parters and the awesome fights aren't the aspects of the series that I love the most. As the series likes to reiterate every so often, the story records the battles and everyday lives of the members of Libra. A lot of the episodes from Kekkai Sensen I'd argue to be the best it has to offer are the one-off stories. This series is a character-driven narrative, not a story-driven one. Each and every crazy adventure the members of Libra go on is used to explore them in greater depth and make them even more endearing to the audience. That's the beauty of Hellsingland Slot. Anything can happen in this city, and so the sky's the limit for the kinds of imaginative scenarios Naitao can have happen within this one location. I know out of context it sounds funny when I say one of my favorite episodes of the whole show is the burger episode, but don't judge me, okay? That episode brought me to tears when I was 13. You want to get it? Hi guys, post recording Shiro here. So while I was in the process of editing this video, I went over to a friend's house and we watched a few episodes of this show together. And we had a running joke about like this one background character in episode 1 who just kept eating a ton of food. And we called him Burger Man. So yeah, hi John. This is for you. I'm mentioning Burger Man for you. So anyway, back to the actual video. Even though it had been a few years since I watched Kekkai Sensen before working on this video, I still thought about the show and its characters a good bit from time to time. My favorite character has always been Klaus, the leader of Libra. His big, powerful cross-shaped attacks and his design were always so cool. But aside from that coolness, he's the epitome of a gentle giant, always looking out for his teammates and being a pure-hearted teddy bear. I've always been a sucker for that archetype. If this video has made you interested in watching Kekkai Sensen, it's available on Crunchyroll. Don't tell anyone I said this, but it's also available on other sites if you're willing to sell the seeds. I would highly recommend watching the dub. Both the sub and dub cast are great, but the English dub I feel better fits the more American style and setting. Also, at multiple points, the show will deliver exposition through text scrolls, so watching the show subbed will result in 2 different sets of subtitles you have to keep up with at once. As for the manga, it's separated into 3 parts: the original run, the second part titled Back to Back, and B3P. The 10 volumes of Kekkai Sensen's first part were translated and published overseas by Dark Horse Comics, the same company behind the Hellboy comics I mentioned earlier. Biggest issue with Dark Horse's handling of the Kekkai Sensen manga is that all 10 English volumes are out of print from what I could find, and they don't offer online scans on their site, so you'll have to look for other means to read the manga, including fan translations of all the chapters that have come out after Dark Horse stopped translating the series. It's a pretty big shame that Kekkai Sensen didn't blow up further into popularity and expand into other forms of media. Imagine an Insomniac Spider-Man type of game where you can freely explore old corners of Hellsingland's Lot. That would be so fucking cool. I'm begging any of those studios who make anime tie-in games to please make a Kekkai Sensen game like that. I'd pre-order 10 copies the second I can. My most recent return to Kekkai Sensen has validated my opinion on it and cemented the anime's placement as my 3rd favorite of all time. I highly recommend it to everyone who wants a relatively short anime to watch. There's a little something for everyone in the many tales of Hellsingland's Lot. So go ahead, give it a watch. Just like Leonardo, experience the city and grow to love its many oddities. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As a smaller content creator, interacting in small ways like that really helps me grow on the platform. Next week, we'll be getting back into the HSR analysis videos. This video was meant to bridge the gap between uploads since I'll need more time to digest 2.3's new story. Plus, I just needed a palate cleanser after writing so much about one game. It was fun to write about an anime I love dearly. If Season 3 ever comes out, you bet your ass I'm gonna be there for the premiere. Oh, and Night Owl, if you're someone watching this video, thank you for this fantastic series. You've inspired this small, self-published author a ton through your work, and I can't thank you enough for that.